Honestly, people thought Japan was crazy when they made a story out of a person being reincarnated as a sword. I mean, what will they think of next? I don't know. They like hot springs. How about reincarnated as a hot spring? Never mind. That's actually a thing. Anyways, yes. Reincarnated as a vending machine is here, or Reborn as a vending machine, a series that is airing in the summer 2023 anime season. While Reincarnated as a sword worked out because it actually had a cute Dotaru that made the story entertaining, can this one be saved by, I don't know what? I guess thighs. Yeah, it's got thighs working for it. Maybe the protect the thighs is going to work as equally as the protect the Dotaru. We'll see. But this is my thoughts on the first episode of Reborn as a vending machine, so let's jump right into it. Reborn as a vending machine opens up with a guy who seems to be a vending machine otaku. Like, he's like obsessed with vending machines. So much that when he's driving down this road on his bike and he sees a truck in front of him that has a vending machine on the back and the straps are breaking and it's going to fall off the cliff. Well, I don't know exactly how it happened, but somehow he finds himself attached to the side of the vending machine as it's falling off the cliff. And yes, as the title would lead you to believe, he is reborn as a vending machine. Realizing this very quickly as he looks down and he sees this puddle and he sees a reflection of himself as a vending machine. Which, honestly, he seems to find okay. Like, it's almost like a divine thing that somebody would do this for him because he loves vending machines so much. But there's the oddity of, well, is this a good thing? Everything that he seems to say comes out as some sort of stock phrase from a vending machine, like, welcome, thank you for your purchase, and stuff like that. Well, that wouldn't be interesting enough, right? Just sitting there and observing what's happening around him, so they have to throw some sort of little shtick in here, and of course, yes, this vending machine has different abilities and limited resources. He has this point system, and since he's not hooked up to any sort of electrical source in this world, that kind of depletes the points over time. So he has to sell things, otherwise he'll just shut down. To which point, we don't know what'll happen. Does he die or what? Every time he acquires currency, it increases that point system. And he can also spend that point system to either restock, change what he's selling, or learn new skills. And yes, one such skill that he has that he unlocks that doesn't take any points is Blessing. And this is a gift from the gods that gives him a whole bunch of abilities. And that's where I'm pretty much like, okay, well, you've already lost your shtick right there. They have in there the ability to talk to people, telepathy. They have teleportation in there, so he's going to be able to move on his own at some point. So everything that makes him a vending machine that should just sit there and do nothing has been lost already. But that's beside the point. Eventually, some frog creatures come by and they start attacking him, and so he's losing durability and he has to spend points to restore it. And he creates a barrier to, make them flee. And as he's starting to get concerned about the fact that he's going to run out of points because nobody's coming by to buy from him because he's out in the middle of nowhere, finally, Lammis comes by. Yes, a random hunter comes by and spots him and is kind of curious about it. Even though it seems like she's kind of ditz a little bit, like she seems a little airheaded, girl figures out things really quickly. She's figuring out how the vending machine itself works. She buys something. He has to change the currency to the world itself. She buys a bunch of stuff, pretty much wastes all of her money buying a bunch of food from him. And she assumes what he is what they call a magic tool, which is basically a tool that has some sort of magic built inside of it. Even going so far as to assume that there's possibly somebody inside of the machine itself. And so she even figures out a way for them to be able to communicate based on what he responds with will be a yes or a no. Ultimately figuring out that he's out there all alone. Hey, do you want me to take you back to my village? And he says yes. So come to find out, Lammis has the blessing of might, so she just grabs this vending machine and just lifts it up and just starts walking. Eventually arriving back to the village where we kind of find out the true story of how Lammis got out there and that this entire area is a dungeon. Despite the fact there is a sky up there, they're inside of a dungeon. And so whatever she finds in the dungeon obviously is hers, so she gets this vending machine. But we also find out that apparently she was out with a party, and that party got messed up pretty badly, and they pretty much left her behind. When she gets back home, she comes to find out that somebody just spread a whole bunch of rumors around the town so that those people would never work there again. Lammis also decides at this point that she wants to take Boxo, which is what the vending machine she calls it. She wants to take Boxo to this Hulumi. I guess that's how you pronounce it, Hulumi. Well, she's apparently one of these magic item researchers, so maybe she'll have some answers on why he's able to do what he does. But yeah, she kind of sets up the Boxo outside the front of their inn. They get a whole bunch of customers. Everybody loves Boxo. Boxo's changing different types of foods and stuff. It's a big hit in the town itself. And that's pretty much where they wrap it up with. Lammis basically trying to earn enough money so that the two of them can get on a teleporter to go back to the surface. So my thoughts on Reborn as a vending machine. Now I wander the dungeon. I have to say, I'm pretty entertained by this show so far. It looks decent. Lammis is cute. I still believe that her art style change kind of sucks. The original light novel art was fantastic, but that's honestly, unfortunately, to be expected for most studios. They sort of change it to be a lot more easier to animate for them. Plus, it matches the very generic moe style, but she's still got a very unique style to her. And she's got a great Samayou behind it, so it makes it very more bubbly and a lot more fun. And honestly, just like with Reincarnated as a Sword, Lammis herself was extremely necessary because, similar to Reincarnated as a Sword, the earlier segment where it's just literally somebody sitting there doing nothing for the most part, besides, acquiring skills, is extremely boring. But now that Lammis is in the picture and we have Boxo basically moving around more, it's a lot more entertaining. And this is sort of what I was assuming the case was going to be. Having this guy that is an unmoving, unspeaking object that's able to kind of be moved around and you sort of get the stories that are being told around him. We're already getting a picture of Lammis being sort of a screw-up. She's not able to do things on her own. There seems to be a quirk about Lammis in the idea that she's extremely powerful. She can just knock things out really easy. But what she says when she first arrives on the scene is that, sure enough, whenever I'm alone, I can't hit anything. So implying that unless she's with somebody, she's gonna miss. And this is sort of played out when she tries to help this girl in this alleyway. When she had Boxo on her back, she drop kicks somebody. Like just straight up roundhouse kicks him in the face. But then she puts down Boxo and goes over and tried to punch the other two guys and she keeps missing. So it sort of implies this idea that technically with Boxo on her back, this massive vending machine on her back, she's able to actually fight. Whereas normally if she puts down Boxo, she can't. So they might turn into a kind of a chemistry there of she has to keep Boxo with her, and that helps her fight, and she's extremely powerful at that point. And yes, since she's got the blessing of might, she can carry him around like a backpack, even though he's a massive vending machine. Now, I will say, even though I compare Reincarnated as a Sword with this particular series, because I'm assuming that Boxo at some point is going to get telepathy and he's going to be able to talk to Lammis, I will say that the beginning segments of this one was a lot more entertaining because it does have sort of a currency transaction thing that's going on with Boxo himself. He's not simply a vending machine, and yes, typically, it's never going to be that simple, because otherwise it would be a boring story. Boxo's unique ability as a vending machine in this other world is, yes, technically his very unique resources that he's giving people. He's able to give them modern-day foods through this vending machine process that nobody even question marks. But he's also changing the stock. He's kind of reacting to the people around him. These two guards are like, man, I've already bought everything. I'm kind of bored of this stuff now. So he switches it over to something else. So he's kind of reacting to what people want. But every time he reacts to it and he changes his stock, it does technically cost him. So there is a risk-reward aspect to it. And like I mentioned earlier, since his point system is his life source, if he runs out of that, he essentially dies. He has to make his decisions very carefully. And there's almost this aspect of, yeah, technically he's milking this village of their money. Like the cost of this stuff is pretty expensive. But he needs to make sure it's expensive because it costs to restock them, and he's got to make money in order to live. So it is basically like the small businessman type of mentality here. Sorry this costs so much, but I have to make a profit, otherwise I close my doors. And in this case, lights out. So I do like that aspect to it. It kind of feels bad because at some point he realized that, oh, Lammis can't go to the surface right now. She's got to make more money because I literally took all of her money. But I had to do it. But like I said, I was kind of curious if at some point they were going to note that with the village itself because he became a big hit and everybody was buying from him. And it's like, are they all going to run out? Is the village going to run out of money? Is he just soaking it all up? That I was kind of wondering if he was going to end up helping Lammis with the funding to go to the teleporter because is he able to cash out that money like an actual vending machine? Just have a box that somebody can get into? The only real question mark they kind of raised in this episode itself was the girl in the alleyway. At some point, Lammis saves this girl in the alleyway, and that girl immediately takes note of Boxo. Now, yes, everybody is shocked by Boxo. Everybody is captivated by him, but nobody was put as much emphasis as this girl. Like, the show gave her emphasis, as if her noticing Boxo was different. Will she end up being an isekai? I don't think so, but there's a possibility. There's always a chance that she might have been an isekai from a young child, and thus doesn't really have too much attachment to the previous world, but at least acknowledges or knows what he is. But unfortunately, she failed in the negotiations and ran away. Threw a rock before she left. That was cute. Yeah, there was a bunch of other abilities that he ended up picking up from the blessing, like I said, telepathy, relocation, which will allow him to move somewhere else. I don't know how much that's going to cost him to be able to do stuff like that, but that at least gives him the options of being able to move by himself. He's able to create barriers. He's able to summon. They also mentioned the idea that he's able to pseudo life creation. So we'll see where that goes. Yeah, he makes a joke about the fact that he gets swordsmanship, and it's like, I don't have any arms to fight. It's like, yeah, give it time. I know I keep bringing it up, but yes, it technically presents the same concept as reincarnated as a sword. This idea of somebody becoming this unmoving, an object that doesn't really do anything themselves. They're not able to move or anything, but then quickly getting skills that sort of offset that and makes you wonder why are they even a vending machine to begin with. But hopefully they don't push that too far. Again, with reincarnated as a sword, it kind of shifted from, okay, then he's just a sword that's OP flying around slicing things up. What's the point of this? But then it turned into the Dadaru aspect. Is kind of a father figure aspect. He was taking care of this girl. And this one sort of is taking the vantage point of supplying people with foods and substance that they need in order to continue on. Makes you wonder if possibly the deal here could be the idea of him helping with hunger or helping supply people with the necessary resources. But if he's not able to produce food without costing himself, there's a limit to that. He can't just show up in a village where everybody is starving and just give a bunch of food out to people, because then he'll die. But they could totally go into that concept. Maybe get to that point where you're almost there. But now, so far, it's just a lot of fun. It's just fun, just hanging out, everybody enjoying the foods that he's providing. Again, that little kind of currency supply management aspect of giving people food. And like I said, also having that aspect of observing what's around you. Sort of what I was expecting the show to be to begin with, and something that I assume is with cases of, reincarnated as a onsen or bathhouse or whatever it was. This idea that because they can't interact with the world can interact with them, but they are an observer. So they observe stories, and so far what we're getting is Lammas' story. Now, while it's not deep right now, it is giving a sense of some girl that has issues going out, failing a hunting party, coming back home, and then seeking out to go to the surface. And so hopefully Lammas has a decent story to go with it. But anyhow, that's my thoughts on Reborn as a vending machine. Looking forward to more of it. I actually really enjoyed this first episode and cannot wait for more. But I hope you guys enjoyed my first impressions as always. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode, or if you're going to be checking it out. Additionally, if you're new to this channel, make sure that subscribe button to get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, and membership button down below. I greatly appreciate what it does, and y'all take care.